Alright boys, in this video I'm going to show you my exact strategy that I use in my agency in order to sell $5,000 AI callers to businesses. And there are a few things we're going to cover in this video. Number one, I'm going to walk you through the capabilities and limitations of AI callers. I think there are a lot of influencers out there on YouTube in the AI space that kind of overrate and inflate the actual capabilities of these voice agents without ever mentioning what they can and cannot actually do. So I'm going to walk you through that, give you a hardcore reality check. Number two, I'm going to compare human callers to AI callers, and we're going to dive into the costs and expenses so you can understand the differences between the two. Number three, I'm going to walk you through some of the connotations that I've realized the market has when it comes to AI callers. Some of the things that I've learned the hard way apparently while trying to sell these solutions to businesses. I'm going to give you the different inbound and outbound AI caller use cases that are dominating the market right now. Then I'm going to walk you through some niches that I think they desperately need AI callers and can tremendously benefit from them. And as you know, the more value you add, the more money you can charge. And then I'm going to walk you through some underrated practices to sign your first client. Things that I don't really see a lot of people doing. I don't know why. I don't think it's because they're stupid. They probably don't want to do it because they're a little uncomfortable, but I promise you they do work. And then last but not least, I'm going to show you my $15,000 per month appointment setting script so you can go ahead and implement it for your agency and hopefully book a bunch of meetings and eventually sign your first AI client. So before we dive into all that, I want to quickly introduce to you what AI callers are in case you're a complete beginner, a rookie in this space, and you want to understand what is this guy talking about. So there are really two different types of AI callers. We have inbound and outbound. And inbound is basically a caller that answers incoming calls in order to achieve a specific objective or execute certain tasks, and then outbound obviously does the opposite. So it initiates calls instead of answer incoming calls. And there are a few different platforms that you can use to build those solutions. Personally, I like to use one in box, but there's other platforms out there like bland.ai, vapi.ai, and obviously you can all integrate them with make.com. Now, the reason that I like one in box in particular is because it literally has the simplest user interface, and for me, when something is simple, I immediately adopt it. So if you haven't checked it out, I highly suggest you go ahead and check it out. And this is a little diagram I put together to kind of explain to you how these voice systems actually work. This is an inbound system. So we have the user. This is basically the customer who's going to be calling a number. This number, instead of being connected to a human, is connected to the agent itself. The agent answers the phone. The user speaks words, and there is a transcription provider that converts his speech to text. That text goes into a prompted LLM, which is basically all the instructions you give your agent. It also has access to a knowledge base and is connected to the server of the platform that you use. In my case, is one in box. That platform gives you additional features and the ability to integrate it with other softwares, third-party tools in order to take actions. But anyway, the text comes in. It does its thing, the prompted LLM, and it formulates a response accordingly, and then it parses that response to a voice provider, and then the voice provider converts the text to speech, and it goes back to the user. This is how these models work, guys. It's very simple, actually, so don't be afraid of them. They're not going to bite you, okay? Now, capabilities of AI callers. What can these callers actually do? They have NLP capabilities, and they basically can understand what it is that you're saying to them and process it and provide an according response in a human realistic manner. They're pretty good at doing that. They work as a prompted LLM, so you can give them a role, a persona, a specific process you want them to follow, the objective you want them to achieve, and they're going to go ahead and do that based on the instructions you've given them. Then we have a knowledge base that is basically a database of information that allows the agent to draw from every single time it needs to provide very detailed or specific answers. And this is essentially how you turn your AI voice agent into a domain expert, a dedicated expert of your company who understands every single thing that you want them to know about your company. This is the sort of thing you're going to give to a new employee when you're onboarding them, so they understand like the services, the pricing, where the company is, the number, address, everything. Then we have actions, and this is basically a third-party integration with other platforms that allows your agent to execute real-world tasks based on each user interaction. They can enter data in a CRM or retrieve data or initiate other automations, for example, schedule appointments, and there are a bunch of things they can do. They have memory, so they can retain and reference context from previous calls from the same number. So the agent knows that, okay, this number called me before, this is his name, this is the conversation we had the last time. Okay, maybe I need to kind of touch on that topic a little bit more. Then we have multiple users. So unlike a person, many people can call the agent at the same time, or the agent can call many different people at the same time. We have the call transfer feature that allows the agent to escalate the call seamlessly to a real human, maybe a manager. In occasions where the agent is unfit to answer a certain question or do a certain thing, then it can escalate that call to a person. Then we have end the call, which is obviously the caller is able to end the conversation with the user in case they say goodbye or they're not qualified or whatever, just so it does not keep charging you by the minute. So it makes your agent more cost effective. Now, what are some of the limitations of these AI agents? I haven't really seen a lot of people talk about them. In my mind, I think the number one limitation is the response latency. These models, they kind of take some time to respond. And it's not a game changer. I mean, it's not like 5 minutes or something. It's like 1 or 2 seconds at a time. But still, it kind of makes a conversation sound unnatural. And it's not like a real human would communicate in most cases. So that's, for me, I think the major limitation of these callers. Then we have cost. AI callers can cost a lot of money for businesses to develop. So you're charging them a lot of money. You're part of the fucking problem. You know that? Ongoing maintenance, the usage can be significant, especially if you're doing it on scale for a big company. And then last but not least, we have the voice quality that sometimes can sound unnatural. It can make mistakes. I mean, human can make mistakes too. And guys, by no means I'm pro AI. I would much rather AI never existed and humans did everything like they always used to. But hey, this is happening. I cannot stop it, so I might as well get rich out of it. This is a mindset of a capitalist, and I suggest you do the same thing. It's not that I want AI to replace every single human on earth, but eventually it will in one way or another. I found, very interestingly, this study, which is not really a study, it's more like a sales pitch, on a website where it compares the cost of a human caller to the cost of an AI caller. And let me kind of walk you through this text right here. So it says for a human caller, the average entry-level sales-based salary is between $50,000 to $70,000 in USA. Bullocks, okay? They're not making that much. It's probably between $30,000 to $50,000. But anyway, you must also take into account the commissions, blah, blah, blah. It's hard to calculate commissions because it depends on the business. You also must factor in other expenses like benefits, taxes, time off, downtime. That has some merit to it. But basically, this article says that the total cost per person is at around $110,000 a year. That's not true, guys. They are kind of inflating this number to create a larger gap between the cost of running a human caller and an AI caller because they are trying to sell their AI callers. Nothing wrong with that, but I'm just telling you things how they are. It's more like $60,000 or $70,000 a year. And we're talking about a salesperson. If we were talking about a customer support rep, or anything of that nature, they're making even less money. But even that, even if they're only making $60,000 or $70,000 a year, then the AI caller is still much cheaper. So the analysis they do here is that the average person talks on the phone for 125 minutes per day. That's the average salesperson. So the AI caller is going to be charging 27 cents per minute. That's $33.75 a day, 5 days a week, 48 weeks in a year. That's a total of $8,100. And then it says that this is only 7% of the cost of the human caller. This is not actually truth, guys. So the truth is that the AI caller is cheaper than a human caller, like 100%. An AI caller would probably cost like 20% of what a human caller would. Now, it's probably not as effective, but it's maybe 80 or 90% as effective. So you're gonna have to do the math and find out if it's a trade worth making for you selling these solutions, or at least you should know it before you go ahead and sell it to a business. But anyway, let's move on. This is what the costs are. Now, what are some use cases for inbound AI callers? And the way I see it, there are really two major umbrellas that everything kind of falls under it. Number one, we have customer support and then appointment setting, which kind of falls under the sales umbrella, I guess. For customer support, you can obviously provide information about services. So let's say you have some sort of a company, people call it, instead of a human giving that information or answering FAQs or inquiries, the agent can actually do that, excuse me. It can help with tracking orders. So if you have an e-commerce store, your client has an e-commerce store, then the customer is going to call the agent instead of a human, and the agent is going to help them track their order. It can provide technical support. It can check if a product is available. It can process refunds, do returns, manage queues for companies that have a large volume of customer support inquiries and there are a lot of people calling. You can have a multi-agent system where one agent manages queues and it directs people to other agents as well. You can run customer feedback surveys, provide billing information. There are a lot of things that an inbound AI caller can help with in the customer support domain. And then we have appointment setting. It can build rapport and qualify potential customers on a set of criteria. You can schedule appointments. You can score those leads based on the conversation. So you give it a scoring system, and then after the conversation with each lead, it's going to score the lead on the probability of being a good fit, and it's going to update that on the CRM. You can reschedule appointments, cancel appointments. Those are the basic use cases for an inbound AI caller. And then on the outbound side of things, we have 5 major use cases. So we have cold calling. It can cold call a list of prospects, build rapport. I'm not sure why I said bark here. Qualify those prospects, handle objections, and book meetings on your client's calendar. You can do follow-ups, reminders. So for example, every time you have a call book, let's say it's a week from now, the AI is going to call them and it's going to remind them that, hey bro, you have an upcoming call, make sure you show up. It can do follow-ups with leads that are in the pipeline but haven't closed yet, and it can gain context based on the labels that you have about each lead on the CRM. It can help you warm up leads, basically call existing leads in your pipeline, nurture them for longer term sales cycles. Some companies have 6-month sales cycles, so they need to keep in touch with their leads, constantly reach out to them, or just touch points in general over time just to maintain top of mind with your customer base. Then we have lead reactivation, outbound agent that can call all their leads that have kind of cooled off and rejuvenate their needs and progress the sales cycle forward. So hopefully they book an appointment. And then last but not least, we have promotional calls where the outbound agent can call existing clients or leads in the CRM and offer them upsells or discount codes, give them updates and whatnot. These are the major use cases for an outbound AI caller. Now, moving on, I want to give you a hardcore reality check of selling these AI callers. So I believe there is true merit and they can actually add real value to businesses. It can save them a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of managerial headache. However, there is an elephant in the room, and that elephant in the room is basically the fact that most businesses and most business owners, although they do see the wave of AI coming and they do understand that they're going to need to adopt it eventually, they're kind of afraid of integrating AI into their processes. I mean, people are fucking hair in my mouth. People are afraid in general of change, but they're specifically way more afraid of AI-driven change. They think that it's going to take their business away and it's going to basically render them useless. As time goes on, every business is going to need to adopt AI in order to remain competitive, and that's a fact. Other businesses are going to start to adopt it because they've noticed that it costs them less money than real people. And as they're paying less money, they have more profits. Their more profits allow them to invest in more marketing, let's say, to capture more market share. So the rest of the companies have to adapt in order to remain competitive. And that's a rule, right? So in my mind, it's inevitable that we're going to get there, but I think we're still very early on in this transition. Many influencers, many AI gurus on YouTube, they're going to try to convince you that you must act now and you're going to be left behind. And there is some truth to that, guys, but in reality, we're still very early on. Now, the key here is to help businesses make a seamless transition from human-based callers to AI callers over time through a hybrid supervised system. So don't just ask businesses to fire their human callers and replace them with AI callers. They'll never do that. The way you should go ahead and pitch that is that you're going to help them make a seamless transition where the human caller is still necessary, but now the AI caller is going to be doing most of the heavy lifting, and then the human caller is just going to be there as backup. And also keep in mind that certain niches are built upon a deep human interaction and relationships. And that's usually in high-end luxury niches. So I don't think these markets will ever adopt AI. For example, if you're trying to sell a yacht, let's say a $50 million boat, they're not going to use an AI caller for that. A person is going to do that, okay? So it's going to affect like 95% of industries, 95% of businesses, but not every single business. High-end real estate is kind of the same thing. Now, where is the hidden opportunity? In my mind, the real money to be made is selling complete AI infrastructures to businesses to not just automate parts of a process, but automate entire processes or even entire departments. And the way you get there is you have to build up to it. You don't just get to a business and you tell it, hey, I'm going to automate your entire sales department with AI. They're never going to say yes to you. The way you do it is you infiltrate their business, you make them dependent on you and your services, and you start with a simple automation, and then you upsell them from there until you have an entire infrastructure in their business. And if an entire part of their business is running on your softwares, you basically own a piece of that company. That's how I see it. And I also recommend adjusting your pricing based on the value that your solution will add to each client's business. I don't think that the same solution should be sold for the same price to two different companies. Adjust your pricing based on the size of the company and the value that your solution is going to bring on the table. If a restaurant is only doing 20 calls a day for reservations, sell the AI caller for, I don't know, $800. If another restaurant now is doing 200 or 500 calls a day, then obviously that's a lot more workload that you're going to get off their hands. So ask for $5,000. That's simple. In your marketing and sales, what I recommend you do is focus on selling the outcome instead of the mechanism. Business owners, they don't care so much about, oh, this thing is AI and AI does that. What they care about is the outcome that the mechanism brings. So the way I recommend you pitch it is just avoid throwing in the term AI automations in general, because there's a fear that comes with that. And by just pitching the outcome and focusing more on the outcome and the end result that they're going to gain, basically selling the destination rather than the journey. How about finding interested clients? How do you do that? I'm trying to look for niches that are losing money and time because, one, they cannot handle call volume. Two, they deal a lot with tar kicker leads, basically time wasters. And number three, they deal with repetitive questions almost in every single call. To give you one example here, what I found out about real estate agents is that oftentimes they receive inbound calls while they're showcasing a property to a client. And that means that they cannot answer the phone. So they end up losing potential deals, or then they have to call them back and nobody answers back, and it creates a whole mess, which of course results in them having to work harder for less money. That's a big problem. Now the solution to that problem is an inbound AI caller who qualifies leads, scores them, and generates appointments, and at the same time weeds out unqualified leads. So what happens is, while the agent is there doing the presentation of a property, when his phone is ringing, instead of him having to pick it up and kind of switch off his attention that he's giving to his current client, the AI is going to be taking care of that, and he's still making money while he's making money, if you know what I'm talking about. The outcome here is that the real estate agent focuses on the client at hand without losing potential deals, i.e. he makes more money. Now, another example is loan officers, which spend a significant amount of time pre-qualifying borrowers and answering routine questions. And about 50% of the time, in some cases, there is a denial of the loan. So they don't even get to make money from that time they spend. The solution is an inbound AI caller who weeds out bad candidates by asking qualifying questions, scoring good leads, and generating appointments with them. And obviously the outcome is the loan officer doesn't have to waste time disqualifying bad leads, and instead fills up his calendar with good candidates and fill up his pockets as well, baby. Come on. Now, example number 3 is gyms. Gyms often accumulate a large database of customers who either cancel their subscription or they don't renew it after it expires. You're probably signed up to a few gyms that you don't even go right now. Think about it. How many gyms have you visited telling everybody that you're going to get big and shredded, and then after a month you stop going there because whatever, you got sick for a few days and then you didn't go and now you stopped going in general? Well, think about that. There's so many people out there, And I cannot remember the last time I had somebody call me from a gym. So the solution to that is an outbound AI caller that serves as a lead reactivation system. It calls leads and offers them a discount or a free trial. And the outcome is that the gym makes more money by renewing previous customers. Now, what are some underrated ways to sign clients? Number one, your network is the easiest place to start. Pick up your phone right now, start going through your contacts. How many people do you know who either own a business or know somebody who owns a business? And people just don't like to reach out to their network to sign clients because they don't believe in themselves. If you had self-esteem and you actually believe that you're worth the money you're asking for, then you wouldn't mind calling your uncle who has a business and pitching him your services because you know it's going to work out. So this is the reason people are not doing it. You have easy access to these people. They already know you. They already trust you. And it's an easier sell you're going to make. All you have to do is grow a pair of balls and go ahead and do it. Number two, we have in-person visits to business establishments. So if there is a restaurant, let's say that you've went there for 10 times with your girlfriend and the person there knows you, he knows your name, whatever, or the manager, walk in there, ask to speak to the boss or the manager, have a short talk prepared in advance or a presentation and start with a hook. Walk into that establishment. It might be a barber shop. Who knows? Walk in there. Hey, I want to talk to the master. Who is the master of this establishment? I want to talk. I want to do business. I have something to offer to you. I have value to bring you. I can help you make more money. Hear me out. That's how you do it. Again, something that not a lot of people do. So to give you a quick story, I was going to this boxing gym and there was this 15-year-old dude there. He asked me how to make money on the internet and I told him, bro, why don't you do this? Why don't you start this agency? You're going to be selling these services. And you know what my guy did? He went to every single business in my town and he signed a bunch of clients within like a month as a complete beginner because he had the balls to walk in a place, own it, and ask for the manager and shake hands and mean his talk. That's all it takes, guys. But I know most of you just like to send emails and shit. And that still works, but there are a lot of people sending emails and the more people are doing something because it's easier to do, the less likely it is to work. So these are methods that I promise you they work 100%. It's just that people don't do them because are hard and they're lower hanging fruits, quote unquote. And number three, we have cold calling businesses. And this is a little more difficult than the rest because it just takes so much energy and effort. But I promise you, if you start with 100 cold calls a day, targeting one niche with one solution, and you make sure that the problem they have is real and it's not something that you just came up with yourself, then you're going to make a lot of money. I'm going to give you a script right now. So this is my cold calling or cold outreach approach that I recommend you guys use. And you can see it's very simple. It's 3 steps. Step number 1 is label the lead with a problem. If they don't have a problem, there's no value you can add. If you cannot add value, you cannot make money from them. So make sure they always have a problem and make sure that you label them with a problem. So the way you hook them is by asking a probing question. You call them up. Hey, this is John. Hi, John. This is Yanis from AI Solved. And then you hit them up with a problem. John, as a real estate agent, how often do you find yourself in a situation where you cannot answer the phone to potential leads because you're doing a property showcase to a client? Boom. That's a problem. Most agents have that problem. Not all of them. Not everyone has that issue, but many of them do. The moment they say yes, boom. That's where you know you got them. If they have a problem, that's where you can make money off of them. Step number 2 is inflate the problem. So a big problem is better than a small problem because big problem equals big money, baby. So you inflate the problem by asking additional questions about how big the problem is. To give you an example, how many times does your phone ring every day? Or how much money do you think you've lost so far in potential deals because of that, because you couldn't answer the phone while you were doing presentations? What about the cost to get someone to call you in the first place? What about the money you've wasted on the ads? How about since you got into business? How long have you been into business? 5 years? How much money you've lost during those 5 years because of this? If that wasn't a problem, how much more money you think you could make? And I recommend you use the ARA framework to build rapport in between the questions. Acknowledge, relate, ask. So don't just jump from one question to another. Take a second. Oh, I see where you're coming from. That's actually a problem I hear from many people. And then boom, move to your next question. And also make sure you tailor your questions to your niche. These questions are targeted for the real estate market, which I've happened to build some AI callers for. But if you want to target restaurants or barbershops or gyms, whatever, make sure you apply the same thinking, but with different questions. And then the last step is present the solution to them and book the appointment. So I have a solution for this problem that will actually allow you to stop losing deals and make a lot more money. Would you be open for a short 30-minute presentation where I show you exactly how? This is where you need to offer free value. You don't just ask stuff for people. You need to give them something first. It's called the principle of reciprocity. The more you give someone, the more they're willing to give back to you. So what you do is you offer them a free 30-minute AI consultation where they get on a call with you and you showcase them how the AI automation works. Perhaps you can even show them other automations that they might be interested in. And then you make a call to action to find out which one they're interested in so you can set up the next call, which is going to be the closing call. And it's very important, guys, that you learn how to sell the appointment, not the solution. So many people in the outreach or they're doing cold emailing, cold calling, they're focused on selling their solution. No, focus on selling the appointment. Give them a reason to get on the appointment with you. And then on that appointment, you're going to try to sell the solution. But first you need to sell the appointment, convince them to spend time with you. And also I recommend you maintain an air of mystery. If they start asking you questions, don't get too deep into the weeds. Keep it on a high level. Don't give them too much information, because if you reveal all your cards, you also lose all your leverage. So this was the video for today, guys. If you go ahead and implement the steps that I've shown you in this video, you're going to be able to sell AI callers just the way I do it. So if you enjoyed it, drop me a like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in another one.